The PMP exam is not for the faint in heart. I've said it time and time again. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees, keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. That is exactly how this exam is. It's a brutal exam, my friends. I can tell you, based on thousands of people that I have trained worldwide, this exam takes no prisoners. It's a very, very aggressive exam. It is right there in your face. And the same can be said for any PMI exam. These are very, very unforgiving exams, very, very nasty exams. They come at you with aggression. They try to hit you in the jaw, and you need to be ready to take any blow it gives and return the favor, smack dab in its face with a more aggressive blow. Some of you folks have fallen off the wagon. Get back on the wagon, dust yourself up, take your boxing gloves off, and go crazy. That is exactly what a very good friend of mine on social media did. Name withheld, but I want to share with you a story of a student who did everything that he needed to do to kill this exam. You might know this speech from Rocky, but this is exactly what this student did. Can you imagine getting the nastiest of exam results? I'm talking about BTs and NIs. A result that would make even the most confident person say, is there something wrong? Can I really do this? Am I in the right place? Should I just change my course of action? But this student didn't do that. Instead, this student stayed the course. And that is what I want to share with you first of all, because as some of you already know, those of you who have been to hell and back on this exam, you know that passing the exam is more to do, first of all, with the psychology behind the exam. If you feel that you are less than and you cannot do it, that will be the beginning of the end. So this student, name withheld, sent an email message in mail on LinkedIn to me and told me about some of the hardships. I said, you can absolutely do this. There is nothing that prohibits you from acing the exam. No matter how bad the result was, you can do this. And to be quite honest, when I looked at the result, I saw pockets of promise. Each one of you that has struggled with the exam has pockets of promise. Do you recall a few months ago, I put out the PMP exam failure stamp out page and the videos? Well, this student went through all of that, sent me feedback about the result. I went through it. I said, no, you absolutely can do this. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it. So I sent this student some additional information. And today, my friends, just as I got off our Saturday call, what did I get? What did I see? A PMI exam result with not one or two or three or four above targets. 5 above targets. Let that sink in for a second. Someone who went from one of the most horrendous results to a result that makes the exam look like a school child. I was so blown away. It made my day. Hey, let me let you know, for those of you who think I just come on here with my own strength to talk to you, let me tell you, that's not the case. The stories that you share with me, your results, your success, that is what propels me to do what I do. I could not do this without people like my friend who has sent me this result. And my goodness, 5 ATs. It's mind-blowing. But I want to share with you some of the stories that my friend shared with me today. Lots of you are trying to do this on your own. It's not a good idea. This student enlisted help of allies. One was a real good buddy of his. The second was his wife. His wife held him accountable to do what was needed. Everything from the 49 processes all the way to giving answers to questions and getting on the study wagon. She would say, "You got studying to do, buddy." And that was a signal that, yeah, she ain't forgotten. I need to do my stuff and get this done. A lot of you are trying to run on your own gas. Don't do it. As John Maxwell says, no one ever did anything great alone. You cannot do this all on your own. Enlist help, allies, family members. Some students would say, "Phil, I took your advice and I told my stakeholders I need to get out for a few days." And that's what many people do. They tell their stakeholders, be it their spouse, their partner, their family members, "Hey, I need help. I just need you to pick up this slack for me just for a few days, a few weeks. I promise when I get this done, I will be back with a vengeance to do my own piece of the heavy lifting," whatever that might look like. Don't do this alone. This friend of mine said, as Rocky shared, it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Some of you got hit by the exam once. Don't do that. This student got hit by the exam. That would have been enough to take him out, but he refused. He stayed the course, stayed on it, got it done. As I read through my students' lessons learned here, one of the things is studied almost every day. Used your formulas like a boss over and over and over. Made a Word doc and wrote down all the formulas, things like EAC and all that stuff. And then manually typed out the 49 processes over and over and over. I'd give my wife a fully populated grid and I'd read them back to her and she'd check the ones I got right. I didn't recall any trainers or my pal who worked with me and answered questions almost daily, and then studied things like contract types, PMO types, power types, so on and so forth. Sat in on a few live sessions and then used various tools that are out there, simulators, and other exam aids, and so on. So without going into too much detail here, because I know some of you are here for the pilot test, but it's the same thing. Even on the pilot exam, you do have to apply this same tenacity, this same type of direction. Get people to help you. Follow the process, follow the method. Now, for those of you who've been asking, when are you going to put out the pilot stuff? I'll share with you a link. For those of you that really mean business, you can go there, you can sign up. I will not be answering too many questions today about it, but all I'll say is, if you're smart, the moment I share this link, don't ask me questions. I deliver. I'm going to bring it. I'm going to help you get to success, just like my buddy here, okay? Going to help you get to success, but you do need to sign up. Those of you who have emailed in, I will email you this link again to remind you. Now, it's $299. The real retail price is $500. I'm giving you 16 hours of coaching to prepare you for the pilot exam. This will go up to $500. If you really mean business, you need to hit that link, sign up. It will go from $299 to $500. And if the class becomes too populated, I'll have to tell certain people, "Hey, I'm sorry, we're not letting anyone else into the class." If you mean business, hit the link and go for it, okay? Today, this afternoon, I will be sharing with you from this curriculum, just one of the tasks to just kind of get you into the mood and the flow and the mindset of how it is going to be, okay? But before I do that, as usual, I would like to know if you have any questions that I can answer for you. Do you have any questions that I can answer before we get into the meat of today. And before I do that, a shout out to my buddy. I am keeping my buddy anonymous, so name withheld. I'm not going to share any information beyond that. But if you have any questions you would like me to answer before I go into the actual teaching of risk management, now's the time to let me know. Do you have any questions that I can answer for you? We're going to be talking about risk management today, which is from the process piece of the new exam. And as you'll see here, it is pretty much cut out of the PMBOK guide. You know, the pilot exam still has PMBOK guide related information in it. You know, don't be deceived thinking that the PMBOK guide is not relevant anymore. It is as relevant as ever. It is. In fact, there's a lot of stuff in the PMBOK guide as it is today, the 6th edition, that you will find on the new or the pilot exam, to use that term. Okay, any questions? All right, I'm going to share with you the link to the pilot sign up. This is really not the goal for today. The goal for today is to get your feet wet into the world of the pilot exam, but I will share with you the link for you to go sign up if you want to. So here is the link. Bear with me. Okay, there we go. If you've been waiting for it, do it, do it, do it. Don't ask me questions. Don't ask me questions about the schedule. You know I deliver, okay? So the wisest thing to do will be to jump in. It is going to be, like I said, a curriculum that is not going to drag you out for 35 hours. It is going to build on the 35 hours. So it is actually going to be at the end of the day, by the time you finish, I'm hoping you would have put in 55 hours of solid studying with me. How are the 55 hours broken out? Let me show you real quick here. This is what we're aiming at, okay? We're aiming at covering people 4 hours, process 8 hours, business 3 hours, and we're going to do a final prep of 5 hours. You're going to take a mock exam. You're going to do online self-study. You're going to do a lot of other stuff. Those people who are smart and sign up today, they'll get it for $2.99. Those people who leave it on the back burner beyond today, beyond the 18th, and I'll leave this video up so that everyone knows. I will send the information out, but anyone getting it beyond that should be looking at the $500. It's a very, very, I should say, competitive pricing, because there's no other individual or firm that I know that is offering any type of training or coaching, strategy coaching for the pilot test. If you're going to take the pilot test, you're pretty much on your own, you see. But when you sign up for this program, you get help. You get help. So that's the link, praizion.com/Praizion/pilot coach. This will be a great opportunity for those of you who want to get certified. Let me tell you this, a lot of people are going to get certified on the pilot, but it's the people who take the right steps, not the people who are just trying to do it blind and trying to do it without any assistance. Okay, it's the people who take action to get help. So let's go into our study for today. If there are no questions, I do not see any questions. So let's go into our very brief study. This is very brief. I'm not going to go too deep. I'm going to keep it at a high level just to get you eased into this new subject matter. All right, so it's domain 2, process, and it's task 3. It's about the assessment and managing of risks. So if you take a look at the current content outline for the current exam, you see that the task is identify high-level risks, assumptions, and constraints based on the current environment, organizational factors, historical data, and expert judgment in order to propose an implementation strategy. But if you take a look at the enabler in the 2020 exam, content outline, what do you see? Determine risk management options. Doesn't that sound so weak and so vague? And that's why when I teach you this stuff, I am going to be marrying what the PMI is looking for today with the way it was defined in the 2015 outline. Why am I doing that? Because the 2015 outline, as I have said in many other videos, is a lot more robust. I asked the question, where have all the great content outline writers gone? Because 2.3.1 is so truncated that it hardly shines enough light. Do you see why you need to come for this coaching? You need to come for this coaching because if you are flying blind, you're going to end up in the ditch. Do not do that, okay? So the 2020 exam content enabler, it states, determine risk management options, which is vague. So 1.4, 2.1, and 3.5 from the 2015 outline is going to help you fine tune your focus, okay? 2.10 says plan for risk management by developing a risk management plan. Is it begin to make more sense when you put that in context? You see, that is why the PMI gave you the crossover document. Some of you say, Phil, what's the crossover document? Ha, ha, ha. Well, if you haven't looked at the crossover document, let me introduce you to it. This is my version of the crossover map. This is not from the PMI. This is developed from what the PMI put out there, but it is mine. And I will not be sharing it with anyone who is not in my class. So please don't ask me for it, but I can show it to you. I know some people are like, he's so mean. I spend time on these things, my friends. Let's take a look at the crossover map. So if you are in attendance of the course, I will be sharing this with you, of course. But take a look here, okay? So what we have here is the breakdown process. We have a breakdown of the tasks, those that are new. So if you wanted to see all those tasks that are new, we can do that. And boom, we can see all the tasks that are new in the process piece. You see, they're not that many. They're not that many. And going to where we are today, assess and manage risk, see, and you can see what it maps to. See, you can see these are the things that we're looking at right now. So if you were looking at the slide and wondering, what on earth is he doing? This is what I'm doing, okay? I'm marrying 2.3 to what exists, okay? And that's how we get to the slides that I was just showing you here, all right? So when we talk about managing risk, we need to think about identifying risk, planning for risk management, and implementing approved actions by following the risk management plan in order to minimize the impact of risks and take advantages of opportunities on the project. So, what exactly are we talking about here when we say we're determining risk management options? We're determining risk management options to define how to organize, structure, and conduct risk management activities. These three pieces are talked about at length, but here we're calling specific attention to your team members carrying out risk management activities, how the risk management processes will be structured, which ones will we look at as optional. For example, performing quantitative risk analysis is an optional process as identified by the PMI. And the risk management activities, the brainstorming, the interviews, all of those team exercises that we carry out, when we talk about determining risk management options, this is what is being referred to. Pretty much 11.1 in the PMBOK guide and all of the details. So when you come for the training, I will be focusing on a lot of the context in the PMBOK guide that people often overlook. For example, the word strategy versus plan in risk is often overlooked. It's things like this that you need to be aware of. See, your strategy is your overarching mindset and approach to risk management as a whole. When we talk about the plan, we talk about the methodology. we're going into some finite tools, techniques, methods, very specific things. So that is what this is all about. Who is responsible for determining these risk management options? The project manager, project team members. If there is a risk specialist, that word might come as a surprise or new to some people. A risk specialist is someone who is skilled in risk specialisms and is not the project manager, but is on the project in the organization. And some firms have a dedicated risk department. These could be also customers involved in this process, subject matter experts from outside the project team, end users, other project managers, operations managers, a whole host of individuals could be involved here. So when we say responsible, you got to remember that a lot of people could be responsible, but not everyone is accountable. Ultimately, the project manager is at the helm and the project manager must conduct that orchestra. Why do we care for this? Because a lot of organizations, they do not determine any options. What they say is, project manager, you experience, do your own thing. So they don't have any framework or blueprint for the project manager to do this. But determining risk management options is so important for a number of reasons. It ensures that the degree, the type, and the visibility of risk management are proportionate to both risks and the importance of the project to the organization and other stakeholders. High visibility project, you want to make sure that you spend time in determining your risk management options. Low visibility project, low stakes project, meager opportunity project, maybe not as much. So in economies of scale, you do want to be focusing on the right amount of effort, sensible direction, and bringing in the right volume of help to assist you. So again, when do we do this? Where do we do this? Well, per the PMBOK guide, we do this at predefined points in the project, or we may do it just once, depending on project size. Typically, this should begin when a project is conceived and should be completed early in the project. So you don't want to go midway into the project and realize, oh, we've not determined our risk management options. You want to do that early. And like I said, there's a lot of volume, a ton of volume that comes under all these high-level definitions I'm giving you. When you come for the training, we are going to be breaking down the mysticism in risk management. There's a lot of detail. So many parts in this area that needs to be broken down some more. Some of you may have caught a little bit of this on the videos that I've been showing over the past 2 or 3 days on this channel about risk management and how the risk register is formed and how we craft our risk responses and all that stuff. But this first task that I'm showing you here, task 3, this is really just about determining the options, see? It may be necessary to revisit this process later in the project lifecycle, for example, at a major phase change, or if the project scope changes significantly, or if a subsequent review of risk management effectiveness determines that the project risk management process requires modification. I want to thank my co-trainer for the information that has been shared, and I'm putting this work together because, like I've told you on previous videos, this stuff is quite voluminous. There's a lot of volume, and we have 4 PMPs that have been working round the clock on this stuff. So I appreciate your efforts on this. So how do we determine risk management options? Expert judgment is very important. Familiarity with the organization's approach to managing risk, including enterprise risk management where this is performed, tailoring risk management to the specific needs of the project, the types of risks that are likely to be encountered. All of these need to be considered. How do you determine your options? By having some insights, by understanding trends from previous projects and things such as that. Another big one here is stakeholder analysis to determine the risk appetite of project stakeholders. In other words, how hungry are your stakeholders? What do I mean by how hungry they are? Not physical hunger, but how much appetite do they have for risk, to take on a massive amount of risk to pursue a particular particular opportunity. Sometimes your stakeholders do not mind the risk because the opportunity is what they are so hungry for. How hungry are you? A lot or a little? Your hunger is illustrated, your appetite is illustrated by many instances, your behavior. If someone is really hungry, they wouldn't mind walking 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles to look for something to eat. If they're not that hungry, they'll probably just walk half a mile, zero 0.2 miles, and they get fed up. So the hungrier you are for a particular opportunity, the greater the risk appetite you have. So someone with a big risk appetite for an opportunity, they pursue it with everything. Someone with a small appetite, because how do you measure hunger? How do you measure appetite? It's by the actions, right? Behavior. True story, someone in a line, standing in line for a well-known chicken sandwich, did the unthinkable, mortally injured someone. I mean, that's got to be some crazy hunger. Were you that hungry? Or do you have other issues? Anyway, that's a story by the side. Anyway, here's an example of where we might end up trying to plan out how does our risk register look? What kind of risk information are we looking for? Trigger information, risk response description, contingency plan, whatever the format of your risk register, of your risk repositories, whatever the format will look like, it is here, right? In this section of risk management that we consider the options that will be used. Okay. Moving along here to our second enabler, we have iteratively assess and prioritize risks. So when we talk about iterative, we're talking about in a cycle. Did you know that there are 3 points in which you do this? If we're going to sum them up, what are the 3 points? Point number 1 is when you think about risks that could affect the entire project at a high level. Do you know that you do that in initiating? Yes, you do. The next place you think about this, about the risks in more detail and more finesse, is when you're identifying the risks. When you're identifying the risks, did it occur to you that not only are you identifying risks, you are also beginning to, in this place, identify possible opportunities? Did you know that? Possible responses. Did it occur to you that all these things are done in identifying risks? Not just identifying the negative risks or threats, but also the positive risks or opportunities, and also potential responses. They may be early and primitive, but it is in identify risks that you begin to identify possible responses. And you know the last place that you do this? When all is said and done, and if you've identified the risks and you've done planned risk responses, another place you do this is in monitor risks. So risks are identified in an iterative fashion. They are developed, the strategies are developed in an iterative fashion. And that's why this says iteratively assess and prioritize risks. Where do you prioritize your risks? You prioritize them in performing qualitative risk analysis. Did that ever occur to you? When you've done that and perform qualitative risk analysis, you go to the next level. If you're in an organization such as one that I worked in, and we had the guys in the basement. The guys in the basement were churning out Monte Carlos and quantitative risk analysis. That is another point in which you could iteratively assess and prioritize risk. So you do a risk assessment qualitatively, right? Then you do it quantitatively, and you could reprioritize based on what you find in perform quantitative risk analysis. Okay, so I hope this stuff is making absolute sense to you. I hope it is very simple, based on the fact that many of you have been on this journey. If you have any questions about what I'm sharing, and maybe there's something that you've seen in the past and you're like, oh, where does this fall into the picture? Where does this come in? Please let me know. I'd like to give you some more information about whatever you want to know more about. Okay, so going back to where we were, Monitor and assess risks by determining whether exposure has changed and evaluating the effectiveness of response strategies in order to manage the impact of risks and opportunities on the project. So like I said, the iteration wave, we start off in initiating, we go into planning, and in monitoring and controlling, in monitor risks, we again begin to look at the risk measures. Probability rating, impact rating, are they the same? What about EMV? Is it the same? Expected monetary value. The whole idea about decision tree analysis and all that, we will be talking about that in the live training, but this process also maps back to 2.3.2. Okay, so 2.3.2 needs you to understand that risk is not identified one time, the responses are not identified one time, the analysis is not a one-time thing, but we are going to do this in an iterative fashion. Let's go to the details. Talking about iteratively assessing and prioritizing risk, what is it? Iteratively assessing and prioritizing risk is about monitoring identified risks, identifying and analyzing new risks, and evaluating the risk process effectiveness, and iteratively reassessing and reprioritizing risk throughout the project. Oh my goodness, my buddy has killed this PowerPoint with key information. Key information. I have to show you this key information. This is what gets me excited about risk management, because many people are oblivious to the gold in the PMBOK guide. There is gold all over this statement, which my buddy rooted out of the PMBOK guide. Let me show you here right quick. These are the things that will make your exam pop right here. Evaluating risk process effectiveness. So it's not enough to carry out your process. You have to evaluate how well are we doing. Watch this. Iteratively reassess. That's another magic word right there. And the next magic word is reprioritize. Did you see that? And then the word throughout. These words excite me because I know that these question writers, they have carved out a special place on the exam for people who do not pay attention to these words. For people who do, there are rewards. So when you are in monitoring risks, right? Monitor risk, you are evaluating the process effectiveness. How well are we doing? Are we doing a good job? How do you know if you're doing a good job? You can tell. And there are ways talked about in the guide, which I will be exposing you to on the training. You are reassessing the risks. So you assess them one time, you had a probability rating of 3, an impact rating of 5. Now you're coming back and asking, is it still a 3 and a 5? And then based on what you find, you are going to reprioritize the risks. Not just that, you are also reprioritizing based on the probability, absolute probability of a 50% probability or 70% probability, right? And then the impact in dollars or in yen or in euros or in rupees, whatever it is. And then you're multiplying these numbers to get the EMV per that risk. You are reprioritizing them based on the EMVs that you have, based on the quantitative risk analysis you have. You see what I'm talking about? That is really what this task is talking about. And you see the way the PMI have broken it out in this new pilot exam, this upcoming 2020 exam, there's a lot of unsaid detail. And that is why I recommend to anyone, even if you are trying to do this solo, which I don't advise you to, but if you're like, Phil, no, I'm not coming for your training, I'm going to do it solo. Okay, if you're going to do it solo, let me just give you one piece of advice. Please check out the crossover map. That map that I just showed you right here, check out the crossover map. Please do. It is so important that you check out the crossover map. The crossover map is going to help you. It's going to help you put all the pieces together. It really is. It's going to help you know this stuff really, really well. And then you need to go back to all of those places that the PMI has told you are in the existing ECO, the exam content outline of 2015. Marry both up so that you get the juice. There is juice in that old ECO. I'm not going to throw away that old ECO. And neither did the PMI, which is why we've got the crossover map. Makes sense? Okay, so the crossover map is available online. I just took it and I made it in tabular form, and I put filters on it because I wanted to expressly see what is new across the board, whether I'm in business, whether I'm in people, whatever. I just want to see where I am and know where I am, okay? And that's why as you're studying the stuff I'm showing you on this slide, it is so important that you go back to the old ECU and say, all right, you've given me the high level, you've given me the enabler. Tell me, what do you really mean? What are you really looking for? And that's why the PMI themselves have not done away with the 2015 ECO. I mean, one of the first things I did when they came out with their 2020 ECO was put out a video telling people, don't throw away your 2015 ECO. And as though on cue, as though they were listening to your buddy Phil, the next week or couple of weeks, they brought out something similar to what I was saying, because you can map each of these from the old ECO, right? The old ECO, you need to be able to map these to the new one so you can get the details. The details, so important. The details help you realize if you really took your key accessories with you. You know, it's like checking your pockets and realize, wait a minute, I don't even know what they're talking about. You see what I'm saying? So that's why you need to map this stuff. It is so important. All right, moving back into our final discussions here, what exactly is this iterative assessment and prioritization of risks? It's about monitoring identified risks, analyzing new risks, evaluating risk process effectiveness, and iteratively reassessing and reprioritizing risks. And I highlighted those words because those words are key. Who is responsible for it? Again, project manager, project team members, the risk specialist if assigned, but don't lose sight of the fact, project manager, if risks are going to the dogs, you are accountable. Many other people may be responsible, right? If you draw out a RACI chart, you can show that other people, Bob, Mary, and Jill, they're responsible. They are collecting the data. They're doing some of the reassessment, but who is accountable? Where does the buck stop? It stops with Phil, the project manager. So that is something to also be aware of as we talk about this. Why do we need this or do this? The key benefit of doing this is it enables project decisions to be based on current information. You don't want to act on information from 2 weeks ago. There are some projects where it is so changeable. That takes us into the discussion of Agile, because it's so changeable that it would be senseless to not check regularly on the state of affairs of your risks. Now, for the new exam, you also need to be aware of the fact that this is not always a risk register. This is not always the traditional tools that you have. These could be Agile related tools. This could be a burn up chart. It could be a burn down chart, but there could be signals to us that things are not in place risk wise. So we need to be aware of that. All right. So the key benefit of this process, of this mindset, of this iterative assessment of risks and the prioritization is that it enables project decisions to be based on current information about overall project risk exposure. So you do know when we talk about overall current risk exposure, we're not talking about individual risks alone. We're talking about the aggregate effect of all the individual risks on the project, and we are also sensitized to those overall project risks, those things that could absolutely kill the project, bring it to its knees. So it's twofold, the aggregation of individual project risks and those overall project risks. That's what we're thinking about here. When and where is it done? It is performed throughout the project. It will be foolish to say, oh, we're only going to review what is happening 2 weeks from now. No, you need to be agile. You need to be thinking about this stuff pretty regularly. How is it done? TPA is one that we hear about, and TPA, technical performance analysis, is a tool and technique that enables you realize if your technical performance is at risk. And if you find risks that are technically related, it would make sense for you to put that on the radar and do something about it. Less functionality than planned at a milestone is a very good example of TPA. Think about it. If you said we should have functionality ABC by this milestone, but you don't have that functionality, that's an indication of a risk right there. And you've uncovered a new risk by realizing you're not technically proficient at a milestone. That is an example. We also have risk audits. Risk audits are when we audit our risk process to look for effectiveness or lack thereof and take steps to make it more effective. Risk reviews. Risk reviews are performed to consider the effectiveness of the risk management process. Risk reviews may also result in the identification of new individual project risks, reassessment of current risks, the closing of risks that are outdated, and issues that have arisen as a result of risks that have occurred. So what we're saying in effect is, as you go through the project, you need to be reviewing constantly the information that is available. And that is why in monitor risks, you got work performance data coming in, you got work performance information coming out, you got your work performance reports that you should also be reviewing to identify if anything has changed. Assessment of probability and impacts, categorization, prioritization, and other qualitative and quantitative assessment techniques are performed. Contrary to what a lot of people think that, oh, we go through step by step by step by step, and we only do identification of risk and identify risks. No, we only do the analysis of what could be or what has happened in qualitative or quantitative risk analysis. No, we do this in monitor risks. Monitor risks is the now. What is happening now? All this stuff talked about, this is not planning. No, we are in monitoring and controlling, okay? Another very important tool that we use to carry out lots of this analysis is the probability impact matrix. And many organizations have different ways they rate and rank the risks. In this example, you can see we have a scale of 1 to 5, and we use various terminology. We could say rare, unlikely, possible, likely, almost certain, or we could say very low likelihood, low likelihood, and so on and so forth. Talking about the measures of the impact of the risk, we could have very high impact, very low impact, or we could use more dramatic terms such as catastrophic, major, moderate, minor, and so on. And my friends, that has brought us to the end of this domain 2, task 3. If you do the maths, you realize that one task has taken us roughly 30 minutes to talk about. One. Do the math. If one task takes us 30 minutes to discuss, how many hours do we need for 35 tasks? Think about it. You're smart, right? 0.5 times 35, 17 and a half hours. So when I say a 20-hour session to prep you for this exam on top of your own private studying, I am so serious. So for those of you who are thinking of the pilot test, you need to be on coaching. You need to hear this stuff in a number of ways to expand your mind, and you need to be on that learning management system of ours to go over all of the processes bit by bit. You've only got roughly 1.5 months now. The quicker you get on it, the better. For those of you that are just joining, the early birders can get it for a ridiculous rate today. Now, go sign up. Now's the time to do it. If you don't do it quickly enough, it's going to go to 500. I'm going to take no prisoners because I've been telling you for a long time. Those of you who dropped your names, send emails. I will be sending you emails in the coming week. I'll send you some more detail, but honestly, you know your buddy Phil is here. It's not like one of those people that you're like, oh, they're going to take off with my bucks. I ain't going to do it. No, you know I'm here, all right? You know that Praizion is a registered education provider of the PMI. We're not playing games. We're in it for the long haul. We love the profession. We love what we do. And most importantly, we love when you guys get certified. My goodness, does it make my day? Another shout out to my buddy who sent me that great news earlier today. You know who you are. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. It's about that time we're going to shut it down. If there are questions, chat them in super quick, or we will be heading offline in the next few seconds. Questions or concerns? Any? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Did I do such a good job that you guys don't have questions? Seems like I did. Okay. Well, again, this training is going to be starting on the 1st of February. Okay. We're going to be hitting those 4-hour sessions every week. Now, we could also, in addition to that, have other sessions that are not mandatory, but you will be invited to. Those of you who are PMPs, it would make sense for you to be on this because you know this new syllabus is not really charted yet. You guys want to be in on how to think, especially the leadership and the business piece. You know that when you took the exam, you were pretty much at 0 when it came to the business strategy piece. That's why you need to be on the training. And a lot of the leadership piece, I didn't have the pleasure of expanding on the theories for you. I didn't have the pleasure of talking about the likes of the Mouton and Blake and the likes of what our friend in, where is he in the United States? I don't even know where he is, but the situational leadership guy. You know who that is? Robert Greenleaf, the servant leadership guy. All of these theories, I am going to be unraveling them for you. Ken is the person I'm thinking of, Blanchard. I'm going to be unraveling all of these things for you. All of these theories that are important for this pilot. A lot of you PMPs, you ain't even heard about them. You ain't even heard about Belbin, let alone Blake and Mouton. That is why you need to be on these sessions, okay? So if you are PMP, join these sessions. They're good for PDUs. I would highly advise you to, because you need to take your understanding of project management to a whole new level. Leadership and business. These will help you, okay? All right, it seems like I have answered all the questions. There ain't no questions. I'm going to say goodbye. Have a lovely Saturday, and I will speak to you very soon. Take care. Bye for now.